Welcome to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, the ultimate resource for business leaders eager to skyrocket company growth. I'm your host, Kerry Curran, and this episode is Parallel Pathing, accelerating short-term wins alongside long-term strategies for explosive business growth. Today's special guest is Casie Gillette, Senior Director of DemandGen at Customers.AI. In this episode, we dive into the importance of parallel pathing initiatives to achieve both short-term and long-term success. We also discuss the importance of cross-team communication, revealing how breaking down silos between marketing, sales, and customer service can lead to explosive growth. Casie shares how her team leverages real-time feedback and collaboration to create impactful marketing strategies and drive business success. Are you looking to enhance your marketing efforts and align them with your sales goals? Let's go. All right, and welcome, Casie. Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your extensive experience.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Kerry. My name's Casie Gillette. I'm currently the Senior Director of DemandGen at Customers.AI. We're a visitor identification platform. We're helping with remarketing, a SaaS company. And that's really my background is, I actually started in SEO back in 2005, not knowing what SEO was, what the heck I was doing, but I figured, gosh, I should probably get a job. And so that's really where life led me is I've really worked in the most of my time has been spent in the agency space, specifically on the B2B side, working with SaaS companies. I've worked in-house before, I'm back in-house. So it's always such an interesting mix, and it's always like it's cool to see both sides. And I think it's been nice to really get that experience. So, excited what you're doing with the podcast, excited to talk about marketing and, what we're doing these days.
No, excellent. Thank you. And I know we talked a bit about how working in the agency space, you get such a broad view of experience, like different client sizes, industries, business challenges, budgets, and flexibility. So it's definitely a very valuable background, and it must be interesting going client side. Like what have been the biggest kind of changes or observations?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, when I worked in-house previously, I made it about 3 years before I was like, all right, I'm a little bored because I think on the agency side, like you've done it for so long that you're so used to just having a million things happening all at once. You're constantly going back and forth from clients. And I will say, like the first couple of weeks, I was like, I don't have 1,000 meetings. Like, this is glorious. I'm getting so much done. But I think what's actually really cool from, a learning perspective is in such a benefit is that when you're on the agency side, there's this piece missing of business goals, perhaps, or the data side, perhaps. And so I love being back in Salesforce, right? Using tools like that, like really understanding, like, what are the conversations being had? Especially when you're on the agency side, you're just told these are our goals and here's how you need to, and you got to figure out how to achieve it. But,
Right.
It's cool being in that decision of what are the goals? How do we get there? What is the strategy? So I think the other piece too is just having that deep understanding of like what's happening next, right? I know the product so well. And as much as you want to understand the product and the customers when you're on the agency side, like it's just not the same because all of your time isn't spent there. So I think they both have pros and cons, but it was definitely an adjustment. But I think in the best way because I've done it before.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, and they're lucky to have you again with your broad experience. So it's definitely a good place to be. So when you're kind of talking to your industry peers and clients, like what are you hearing? What are some of the questions or business challenges that they're coming to you with?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in such an interesting spot right now, specifically just with all the changes that are happening in marketing. I actually said to a friend recently, I was like, gosh, I'm glad I'm not doing like just SEO anymore, because I think it's becoming so like exponentially harder. Same thing with Google ads, right? Same thing with like a lot of these demand gen tactics where, now you're seeing like how different the search results are with AI, right? Google's trying to adjust. Everybody's trying to adjust. Ads are becoming more complicated. On top of it, like we're losing cookies, right? We just lost a portion of cookies. Like that's going away. And I think as marketers, like I think it's a cool time, but it's also like a little bit scary of, wow, this is like in my time of doing this in almost 20 years, to me, this is one of the biggest shifts I have seen. And so it's really interesting to see how people are reacting. I mean, I find myself, look like constantly doing research of what's happening, what are people talking about, what do I need to be thinking about, and for me as well, like, just thinking from a demand generation perspective, like I came into this role thinking, I got this. I know SEO, I know ads, like,
Yeah.
and I really had to shift it and start thinking about like what other tactics can we be doing? Because even just, trying to do some SEO, like I wasn't seeing the results that I was typically used to seeing.
Yeah, no, and especially in the B2B space, it takes longer and it's so much more competitive these days as well. And so you were saying that your um, company has kind of shifted their business goals, or there's been some evolution, I should say, since you started. So how have you approached that from the marketing side and the changes that they've been rolling out?
Yeah. So one of the cool things about coming into a startup is that things move really fast. And when I came in, previously the company was a chatbot, and they had gained a lot of traction. The company's been around like I think almost 6 years. I only started about 8 months ago, and I think it was probably about 6 months prior to that that they shifted to this website visitor identification platform, like the remarketing tools. And so seeing that evolve has been really cool. And, just thinking about how we shift what we're doing, it's kind of like reestablishing your brand a little bit. People had known, oh, hey, like, I'm sort of familiar with that company, but now it's a different company, and I think you guys do this, but now we do this. So, it is really cool to have to go through that. But I do think, that evolution of the brand is such an interesting thing to be a part of. Because for me, you have to take a step back and you all really have to figure out like, who are we talking to? What resonates with them? We're really just iterating all the time to see like what people respond to.
Yeah, and you need to reiterate quickly and learn fast, fail fast, learn, keep going.
Exactly.
Definitely. And so we talked a bit about your team structure and how you have a very tight knit, nimble team, and there's a lot of need for brand consistency as it goes from the marketing channels to the sales team. So talk a bit about how you're kind of tackling that and ensuring that communication.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, one of the cool things about moving in house is you have more access to data and you have more knowledge of product. And that's one of the things that I feel like I've been super fortunate about, especially because we are a smaller team. So we have 3 people on the marketing team. So I report to the VP of marketing, the VP of marketing reports to the CEO. That being said, I see the CEO every day, right? Or talk to him every day. We have meetings with product once or twice a week. I have meetings with CS once or twice a week. So that knowledge and being able to stay consistent is easy
Hmm.
because those communication lines are so open. I remember when I was working in house at Grasshopper, like at the time, I thought what they did, one of the things they did was like the coolest thing to me as a marketer was that we had weekly meetings with support. We had weekly meetings with sales. And so I was always preaching, even at the agency, like, hey, like, how do we get meetings with these people? How do we get in front of these people so that we can really understand? But I think in terms of consistency, I mean, of the 3 marketing members, we talk multiple times a day, every day. It's just easy when you have that. But I think the key is that we're also able to get out ahead of things. So we're meeting with product And I know what's coming a month from now. I know what's coming in 3 weeks from now. And so we can start planning for that. We know what's ahead. It just makes it so much easier. Where again, on the agency side, it was like, oh, hey, we have this now, and we need you to go talk about it and write about it. So,
Yeah. And so I love that. I love the integration and the examples because I think that's something that more brands, especially B2B, should be paying attention to. You know, you talked about being able to meet with your client services team to get the case study data, the sales team. I mean, this sales team is such a wealth of knowledge because they're hearing firsthand what are the prospects, what are the questions they're asking, why are they even calling you in the first place? So that's definitely an example that more B2B teams and marketers need to be thinking about, especially with that integration and communication across the team. So I love that example.
yeah, and I think just to expand on that, one of the, for me personally, in the demand gen side of things, is I'm always thinking about, all right, what content do we need? What are we going to talk about? Like, what are we posting on social? What messaging are we putting in our ads? And excuse me. So a lot of times what's neat about it is that I know here's what product is saying, or I'm sitting with the CEO and he's saying, hey, this message is kind of resonating. Like, let's go with it. Or for case studies, for example, we have these weekly meetings and CS will present something of, hey, here's this really cool thing. Here's what's working. Well, now I can go post that. I can create, like, I just built 2 case studies around these examples that CS had just provided to us. I just posted some LinkedIn posts. I have ad copy that are these testimonials. And we wouldn't have that if I didn't have that direct line. So I think it's super cool to be able to do that. But also, it just goes to show, I think I just saw something recently where we know case studies and testimonials, especially in the B2B space, can drive conversions by like 35%, can improve conversions by 35% or something. So and anyone knows getting a case study made is really hard. So if we have happy customers, like we're not out there searching, like I'm being told,
Yeah.
hey, this is the person, they're happy, it's working. So those direct lines of communication are just so important to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely need more examples of that. This episode of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, is brought to you by RBMA, Revenue Based Marketing Advisors. Want to elevate your business and boost revenue? RBMA is here to help. Our expertise in business development and sales, combined with full funnel marketing, propels your growth. We offer fractional CMO, CRO, and CGO services, plus project-based initiatives, ensuring success at every stage. Our unique approach integrates marketing and sales, transforming them into a powerful growth engine. We specialize in B2B agencies, service providers, SaaS companies, and product firms to drive exceptional results. Visit our website to learn more and start your journey to unparalleled success. And now back to our program. So we talked a bit about how you're balancing your short-term and long-term goals, building up the new brand and the connecting with your expanded ICP while bringing in the revenue. So how are you what's your strategy for balancing the long-term and short-term goals?
I love this. So when you and I had spoke, you said, "Oh, you're parallel pathing," and I was like, "Well, I haven't heard that term," but I was like, "Yes, that's exactly what we're doing." When you're in, whether you're an agency or a startup environment, there's a lot of similarities there. You don't have the luxury of time. You
Right.
really don't. So it's very much a how do we drive results right now. So there is no let's build this strategy out for 4 months and then see that it works. Like right? Like we have to be doing things in the meantime to get there. So I think a good example of this is, we have an ABM program, and it's been like a huge lead driver for us for a really long time. Does really well. Well, we're evolving that. So now we're taking that list and we're segmenting it into these very particular audiences, right? So now we're going to that next level of, okay, let's get these personalized lists for people who are interested in Klaviyo, right? Or let's get these e-commerce lists, people who use Shopify. And so we're still continuing with our ABM, but at the same time, we're starting to refine that. Same thing with like ads, right? So we run ads. Well, we've had these awareness ads and we're testing a new message. All right, well, I can put that up and put this into a new campaign while this existing campaign is running. So
Mhm.
yeah, you just really have to think about, all right, what is our long-term goal? What are the things we have to do to get there? And a lot of times, especially in this environment, they're bigger goals, I think, right? It's like, oh, hey, we want to get to this next level of revenue, or we want to get to this MRR. But at the same time, it's like, all right, well, what are we doing this quarter? And what are the immediate things? That's one of the things I absolutely love about our team. My VP of marketing is just brilliant. We met in June and it was like, what are the 5 priorities that we need to accomplish in the next 4 weeks? Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, these are both short term and long term, but they're the things that are going to have the biggest impact. So, yeah, I really loved that parallel pathing idea.
Mhm.
I've just never given a name to it, but I thought that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, we're just making up words here, but no, I definitely it's that's but that's sped on, right? And I think that's what we've been hearing is a lot of B2B companies are doubling down on sales and reducing marketing budgets, right? And they're like, because we need the sales soon, now, quickly, and you're going to miss out on that relationship building that takes more time, and so it's just yeah, it needs you need to be doing both. You need to be parallel pathing for sure. And one of the things too we talked about was your SDR BDR role and how that's kind of evolving within your organization. I feel like stronger marketing can really benefit the SDR, BDR role, and it too often it's so segmented. So tell us a bit about how you're structured, and because I think that's would be really beneficial for other companies to consider.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, I'll say one of the things I do feel very fortunate about is our CEO comes from a marketing background, so has such a good understanding of, oh, we need marketing to get sales. And I think that's really important and understands fundamentally, like, we have a very, it's very, hey, if we have X salespeople, we want X marketing, the ratio,
Yeah.
right? So we have a good
Hmm.
understanding of what that should look like. But yeah, one of the things we've been talking a lot about is we have our sales reps, and I'll just give an example. We work with agencies, so we have agency partners, and right now, marketing brings in the leads, and then our agency sales rep goes and meets with them, kind of talks to them, and then sends them on to CS. We're really trying to move that up funnel to the marketing team so that marketers, the marketing team is actually making sure that they're qualified, that they're the right partner, that we already kind of have a relationship before we're sending them to the salesperson, who then is going to become more of that relationship manager
Hmm.
versus just, hey, we're going to have you sign this agreement, and that's kind of it.
Right.
But the other piece too that we're really thinking about is, okay, what are, like, we have such a good relationship with the sales team, is
Hmm.
that they give us that immediate feedback. So, hey, these are good leads, these are not good leads, here's why they're good leads, here's why, like, that is just unbelievable, and you don't always get that feedback super quickly.
Hmm.
But yeah, you can't have more sales unless you have marketing, and I think, like, you don't have that feedback,
Yeah.
you don't know, because the data can lie. Like, you can say, well, we just had our best month of leads, but if those leads aren't good, it doesn't matter.
Right. Right. No, and it's so important, and it's if I'm taking anything away from your experience there, it's the communication and breaking down the silos and barriers between the business units and the teams, and the benefit of having a leader that understands marketing, which I'm sure that many of your peers would enjoy that as well. But it's definitely you're building a lot of really good foundation there. It's clear. So
We're
um,
trying.
yeah. So I'd love to hear if like, what's your overarching recommendations or advice to other brands or marketers out there that need to kind of really improve how they're connecting marketing to the other business units or especially to their sales teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that, when we go back to what's changing in marketing, I think what's really key here is that, you mentioned, like, the shift to sales, and what that has resulted in is a lot of cut budgets. And so that can be really difficult for marketers because, it's very much a what have you done for me lately? And if you found these things that work and suddenly your budget's cut, now you're scrambling to figure out, well, what else can we be doing? And so what we're really focused on, and I think what marketers as a whole have to really be thinking about, is what can we scale? So much of marketing is just tactics.
Yeah.
And so there has to be that strategy of, all right, well, if we only have this budget, what are the 3 things that we can do to scale this and still continue to drive leads? Going back to the idea around like the communication side, I'll just give an example here. We had started working, like we started partnering with High Level, which is a platform, like a marketing automation platform, kind of a contact management system for agencies with like very lead gen, kind of smaller organizations. So we rolled out this partnership, this integration. We started talking to them. Then we started hearing more and more from these high level users of, hey, we love this. Like, how do we get this? Like, how do we get these plans? And because, we're hearing that on the marketing side, the sales people are hearing that, we're seeing it online, we were able to adapt to that. And so within like 3 weeks, we had high level pricing plans laid out. We started working with affiliates. So like High Level has this huge affiliate program. So we were able to connect with some of these people to get them integrated. And it's something that like, it wasn't necessarily there, but because we were able to adapt and see, hey, this is a scalable thing, we were able to move pretty quickly on it. So I think just as marketers, like, you have to be agile. You kind of have to go sometimes where the wind takes you. But I think it's really focused on, again, it goes back to sales and revenue, but how do I get there? And how do I get there with what I have?
Yeah. No, this is great. Thank you so much, Casie. I really appreciate all of your experience and knowledge, and I hope we can have you on again soon.
Anytime. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. I'm Kerry Curran, and this is Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast brought to you by RBMA, Revenue-Based Marketing Advisors. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for our next episode from D2C to Legacy Brands, Evolving Marketing Playbooks. Be sure to subscribe to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast for more ways to skyrocket your company growth.